What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. In this video, I'm going to be doing my Green Bay Packers mock draft 3.0. I've already done two mock drafts. The videos can be found in the description below. There's a couple links there for you guys if you want to check that out. In the first one, I took the Jets first rounder, so that one might be kind of obsolete at this point. But in the second mock draft 2.0, I did give myself, I gave the draft the Jets second round pick. And I think I'm going to do the same one in this video. And before we get to the actual video, I want to say use the timestamp so you guys want to jump around and click on things. But I kind of want to just set the table and show you guys some of the thought processes behind this mock draft. And I'll go ahead here and share my screen. I'm going to be using Pro Football Network to do the mock draft. I haven't played around with this website simulator too much, so we'll see how much different things are. I'm actually going to hit restart on that. But anyways, the Packers depth chart heading into the 2023 season. I just want to quickly go over this and share the weaknesses that I see here. Of course, the wide receiver position with just Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Samori Toure, Jeff Cotton, Bo Melton. The Packers need some juice at the wide receiver position. It's no secret. They're probably going to end up drafting two rookies, I think, in this draft, maybe one in the first couple rounds and maybe one on day 3. The offensive line, I mean, we love Elgton Jenkins, Josh Meyer, John Runyon, Zach Tom, and Josh Neiman can, they can compete for the right tackle position, but we do maybe need a David Bakhtiari replacement. So left tackle definitely in play. And then I'm always, up for grabbing some more offensive linemen in the later rounds. Tight end, we definitely need a tight end. We lost Robert Tonyan and probably Mercedes Lewis, leaving us with Josiah DeGuara and Tyler Davis as our top 2 tight ends. We do need a guy, and probably going to spend a high pick on one this year. It's a really deep tight end class. Quarterback, Jordan Love, Danny Etling. I probably want to draft a quarterback here at some point on day 3. And maybe we bring in a veteran to be the backup here. And then running back, I mean, Jones and Dillon are a pretty good 1-2 punch, but we do need to start considering, the future. Do we draft a guy to maybe replace Aaron Jones next year, or are we not going to pay A.J. Dillon? So I'm open to drafting a running back. Defense, I feel pretty good about the starters. I mean, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt can maybe use some competition for TJ Slayton and a guy that can kind of rotate in here. So I wouldn't mind a defensive lineman. Pass rusher at the outside linebacker positions. Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary. I like Inagbare, but we do need some help here. Justin Hollins is okay. Jonathan Garvin, Ladarius Hamilton. We do need probably another body at that position. Wouldn't mind spending a high pick on an edge rusher. The offense or the interior linebackers, Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker. We love that duo. Probably need a backup though to compete there on special teams. Cornerbacks are great. Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes. We love that duo, as well as Rasul Douglas. Could probably use a number 4 though, to be honest with you. And from what I've heard, the safety position is going to be in flux. We have Darnell Savage and Keyshawn Nixon. You got Ennis Gaines. You also have, who's the guy that we signed Tavares Moore here, Rudy Ford, Tariq Carpenter. They have a lot of bodies at safety, but we don't really have a starter. So I'm open to this kind of being a revolving door, trying to find a safety. Don't know if we need to spend a high pick on a safety, but we will be drafting a safety at some point in this draft. And that's pretty much it. Let's see what we can do here. And again, that covers the depth chart. Before we get into it, though, I want to mention the Packers' top 30 visits so far that they've already met with for the NFL draft. The top of the list, Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia, Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State, Jamie Robinson, the safety from Florida State, Jordan Howden from Minnesota, another safety, Hendon Hooker, quarterback from Tennessee, Dontavian Wicks from Virginia, wide receiver, Marte Mapu, safety inside linebacker from Sacramento State, and Keaton Mitchell, running back from ECU. They're going to continue to add to that list, but those are the top 30 visits the Packers have had so far. But either way, I guess I'm going to kind of just start with what I started with here. I didn't make the pick yet, but I kind of loaded it up. And again, I made the trade for, I guess I sent Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. I gave us a second round pick. This might be far-fetched. I'm not sure what's exactly going to happen, but you got to expect Packers will probably get a second round pick this year if that trade does get done. Just to recap here, it looks like C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, the top 2 picks, Will Anderson, Anthony Richardson at 4, Jalen Carter, Christian Gonzalez, really good cornerback there. There's Paris Johnson. A lot of Packer fans like him a lot. Tyree Wilson, Miles Murphy, Devin Witherspoon, Broderick Jones. We're probably not going to get Jackson Smith and the Jigba guys. It's probably time to just get rid of that. We're going to have to trade up to get JSN, Peter Skoronski, and Brian Breesy. So those are the top 14 picks. And here we go. Packers are on the clock. Our first pick number 15 in the 2023 NFL Draft. Top players include Will Levis, Bijan Robinson, Brian Branch, the safety from Alabama. I know a lot of people want us to take a safety high. I'm not sure we need to. There's some players that I really like on the board right now. Jordan Addison, Lucas Van Ness. I mentioned edge rusher being one of those positions that I like. There's Joey Porter Jr., who I think is a fantastic cornerback. Cam Smith, edge rusher Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, Keely Ringo from Georgia, and Quentin Johnston. People also really like Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer, the two tight ends there. And the Packers have shown interest in Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle from Tennessee. Now, I do think if this is the board, I don't mind if the Packers trade down. What's cool about this is they're going to send me some trade offers every now and then. I decline them, but I could easily see the Packers moving back a few spots here at pick 15 to get a guy. I do really like the wide receiver Zay Flowers as well. But if this is the board, I'm kind of thinking Quentin Johnston's going to be the pick. Again, I mentioned the biggest impact that I think the Packers could have as far as getting a rookie at 15 and putting him into the offense. It's probably wide receiver. We need to finally draft our first round wideout, and getting Quentin Johnston means Johnston on the outside with Christian Watson and probably Romeo Doubs in the middle of the field. So I really like starting the draft off there. Johnston's probably a consensus top 15 pick. And again, if I didn't take Johnson, I'd probably go with Lucas Van Ness. I'm open as a Packer fan. I'm open to taking another cornerback. I think we can experiment with our corners, maybe move Rasul Douglas to safety and try and get as much speed and good coverage skills in the secondary, because we do deploy a lot of 5 DB sets. And I think adding a 4th corner makes a ton of sense too. And Joey Porter Jr. is really good. But I'm going to start the draft with Quentin Johnston. Let's get that wide receiver out of the way, and it'll continue to simulate here until our next second round pick. And I gave us the Jets second round pick. So I let them keep that first one. We'll see what happens here. I'm hoping one of the tight ends can slide to us. But as we're moving here into the second round, it looks like both of the top tight ends, Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid, are off the board. Jalen Hyatt off the board there. Josh Downs, Zay Flowers falling into the second round. Let's see here. And what's cool about Pro Football Network is they're going to offer me trades here. I'm not going to take any of them, so we'll reject it. But it's interesting, getting 2 picks from the Broncos here might be kind of fun. Let's see, there are no other trades. So we have 43 and 45 here. As I look at the top board, Darnell Washington's still on the board, guys. So if this is what's going to happen, I'm feeling pretty good about it. So let's go ahead and lock in Darnell Washington at pick number 43, our first second round pick. And instantly we've plugged into the positions that I highlighted at the top of the show. The Packers need a wide receiver, a stud wide receiver, and they need a tight end. We get both. Now the Jets are offering us a trade here. Raiders are offering us a trade. We'll decline those. And I'm going to stick true, I guess, with the second round pick. I'm going to stick true to the Packers' top 30 visits, and we're going to fill in edge rusher here. I do like a lot of these guys here. Kalijah Cansey, Maisie Smith's kind of fun for a D tackle. I don't know if we're going to grab an offensive lineman here. Edge rusher from Georgia Tech, Jack Campbell from Iowa, but we brought Will McDonald in, the edge rusher from Iowa State. I think this is probably one of the better picks. Otherwise, like if we didn't grab Darnell Washington, I do like Luke Musgrave a lot. He's another name that we could look at. So I do like the area of being around 45, especially if you can get Maisie Smith, Will McDonald, even Kalijah Cansey, who I've seen as sometimes get a first round rating. I think putting some draft capital into that defensive line makes a ton of sense. But we'll go ahead and get Will McDonald again. Rashawn Gary, he's going to be back this year. He's coming off an ACL injury, but I mean, plugging in a guy like Will McDonald and kind of easing Gary back into the fold, I think makes a ton of sense. So we'll start it off here with Will McDonald, the edge rusher from Iowa State. And now we're on ice for a little bit until the third round pick. Not sure what we're going to have here, but all of a sudden, I mean, we've covered some major needs. We got the wide receiver, Quentin Johnston, really fun player. He's huge. He's a terror in the open field. He's hard to tackle. I think he has off the charts ability with breaking tackles and just making people miss. He's a really fun guy, big body. The Packers need another big body receiver. So we got him. We got Darnell Washington, the tight end, who's going to come in. And he's a really good blocker too, which I think Matt LaFleur and the Packers staff will value quite a bit. Let's go ahead and continue to reject these trades. Not interested in moving around. Now we're back up on the clock here. And you can see Hendon Hooker, top available. Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, defensive tackle. Tucker Kraft, tight end. A linebacker here. A couple safeties, Sidney Brown and Jordan Battle. I want to see if our other safety is anywhere near here, because we were looking at Jamie Robinson. I don't know if he went yet. He did not. But definitely, I mean, at this point in round 3, we're looking at safety. We're looking at offensive line. We're looking at defensive tackle. You can see there's a ton of safeties right here. So maybe that might be the spot. Offensive tackle Warren McClendon, Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. I think we could definitely end up taking a offensive lineman at this point of the draft. But let's see what Keanu Benton's got listed in here. He's 6'3", got a good RAS score. We know the Packers love their RAS scores, so the higher the better for a defensive tackle. That's pretty impressive. Let's take a look at these safeties. Sidney Brown from Illinois. He's short, so that might knock him, but his RAS is off the charts at 9.67. Jordan Battle from Alabama. Really bad RAS score. I don't know if that's going to fit the Packers mold, but I like his size. Let's see, Brandon Joseph from Notre Dame here. Pretty bad RAS score, but again, I like his size. But let's kind of wait on safety. I'm kind of interested in some of these tackles here. Warren McClendon, and again, I'm not sure if he's going to be a left tackle, right tackle kind of situation, but his RAS is to be determined. It says he has some exciting athletic upside. He's quick off the snap, allowing him to be aggressive at the point of attack. Let's see. I'm not sure if there is. I wouldn't mind getting the full report here if it lets me. So offensive tackle. I wish it would say left or right tackle, but I think the point of this mock draft, I'm just trying to show you guys more players and more names that we could be looking at. And honestly, I kind of like grabbing an offensive tackle here because again, we don't know what Bakhtiari is going to do next year. This gives us a little bit of competition between right tackle and left tackle with this guy. So let's go ahead and lock in Warren McClendon, offensive tackle here from Georgia. And again, we have a couple guys at right tackle that should be okay. Zach Tom and Josh Neiman. But who knows if those guys are going to stick around or if anyone gets hurt. I think potentially Bakhtiari leaving next year is a very real potential. So grabbing an offensive tackle to compete for right tackle and maybe replace Bakhtiari next year, high on my list. But as we're moving into the fourth round here, we probably need to look at the defensive side of the ball a little bit more. I still want some kind of big guy in the middle nose tackle position. We still need a safety, so we'll look at that, and then we'll continue to fill out our needs. But so far, I'm feeling pretty good about this. We're getting some good playmakers. And as we're up to pick here, Joe Tippmann, the center, is still available. I really like A.T. Perry. He's a really fun receiver from Wake Forest. Linebacker, Chase Brown, Ricky Stromberg. Jonathan Mingo is kind of fun. Linebacker here, corner, edge. Looking around at some safeties here. Ronnie Hickman from Ohio State. There's Jamie Robinson. So let's go ahead and pull the trigger on him. They give him a 129 rating here. The Florida State 5'10", 191, a pretty bad RAS. But I like the fact that they met with him. If they liked him, this is probably a guy that's high on our list. And I think fourth round, getting a safety that could potentially, come in and compete for a starting job seems like a pretty good pick. If I were to not take Jamie Robinson, I think I'm all in on A.T. Perry, guys. I really like him a lot. He's one of my favorite receivers, and he could compete right away and be our number 4 wide receiver. And we have a little bit of wait until the 5th round, but I will go ahead. Let's go ahead and lock in Jamie Robinson. Again, Packers brought him in for a visit. There's probably a pretty good link here. Maybe he falls into the 5th round, but you never know. So we'll lock him in, and we're filling our team needs in here pretty good. Let me look at that just filters it. Can I see team needs? My bad. So it did say wide receiver, tight end, edge, offensive tackle, and quarterback. So the last need that we have technically to fill is the quarterback position, but we'll get a backup at some point. And I think we have a handful. We have pick 149 in the 5th round. I think maybe 1 or 2 more in the 5th round. So it should be a fun 5th for us as we're trying to find guys that can compete and potentially add some depth and make our roster. So here we go. We are on the clock. Again, Ricky Stromberg still falling. Ronnie Hickman, another safety, center, safety. There's Dontavian Wicks, who I like quite a bit. He's a big receiver, and he didn't really play well last year, but he had an amazing 2021 season. And again, we don't pick until 170. So we do have another pick on the turn soon. I wouldn't mind taking another wide receiver here. If we just look at offense here, I do like Luke Schoonmaker too. I expect the Packers to take another tight end. Maybe he's on the horizon for us. Let's look at defense real quick. Moro Ojoma from Texas. I like him a lot. He's got a really high RAS. Defensive tackle here. He can come in and compete. I'm gonna go with him. He's got a ranking of 145, so he's in this range. And again, I mentioned, of course, Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt. Those are our top 2 defensive tackles. TJ Slayton's nice, but we don't really have that number 4th guy that can compete. So I think adding some beef on the defensive tackle is a huge priority. And again, I like Maisie Smith at 2nd round. So maybe we wait for the 5th round to plug in a potential big defensive tackle. And as we move into our next pick, we're kind of like we've covered most of the bases. I feel pretty good about this mock draft so far. And I kind of want to look at running back. We're on the clock here. Let's just take a look. There's no receivers that I love right now. I definitely want to get some more receivers, at least one more. But I'll tell you what, this Rashawn Johnson from Texas, I think he's got 3-down capability. And again, the uncertainty of Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, like we don't know if we're going to pay AJ Dillon. Aaron Jones it costs a lot of money to keep. We might let him go at some point. Otherwise, defensive side of the ball, there's more defensive tackles. We need some linebackers and some edge rushers. But man, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for Rashawn Johnson, who maybe he's not a guy that we rely on this year, but next year, this is a guy that can learn under Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. If any of those guys go down, Rashawn Johnson can step up. He's a productive player from Texas, RAS of 8.69. Let's take a look at his full report here. And I was hoping to see his stats. I don't know if they have those on here. I just know he was productive at Texas, so I like him. I think he's a good piece, and he can compete for our number 3 job this year. So let's go ahead and grab that running back, Rashawn Johnson. And I'm not sure how many picks we have left. I don't know if we have any in the 6th. I think we have 3 7th-round picks. So with the last few picks here, we'll probably let's try and grab an interior offensive lineman. Maybe I grab another wide receiver to compete. And then maybe we grab a quarterback. I don't know yet. But either way, we've kind of hit all the levels of the offense. We got a receiver, we got a tight end, we got a tackle, and now we got a running back. On the defensive side of the ball, we got a defensive tackle, we got an edge rusher, and we got a safety. So I'm feeling pretty good about the balance of this draft. And again, the Packers' formula this year is we don't expect to win the Super Bowl this year. There's a chance we can win maybe 7 or 8 games. And maybe compete for the NFC North. You never know. But I think the majority of minds believe that we need to invest really well in the draft this year, and maybe we could be pretty competitive in 2024. So we'll see what happens. Either way, we're up to pick here in a little bit. We got 2 picks coming up in 4 picks here. So we'll find some players here that we like. I do want to look at tight end. We have missed on a couple guys here. Let's look at wide receiver. Elijah Higgins is pretty fun. I like Darius Davis. Justin Shorter's not too bad either. Let's take a look at those interior offensive linemen. And again, I haven't really looked at offensive linemen this late here, but I do think it makes a ton of sense for us to grab one. So I'll go ahead and grab the top rated one here from South Carolina, SEC, even the Tennessee, Kentucky. Like you can see, offensive linemen from the SEC are a pretty good commodity. So we'll grab a guy that can compete for a guard spot in this training camp and maybe a starting spot in the future. And then we're back up to pick right away, and we still have that 242 here. And I think we got 3 more picks left. Let me just look at wide receivers. I'm gonna add Elijah Higgins. He's got a pretty good RAS score, 6'3", 235. I think he's probably a fringe 4th rounder for what I've seen. So I'm not sure he has the ability to fall this far here. But Higgins is another big-bodied Stanford receiver. As a full-time starter, he was 1 target off of doubling the next closest receiver. Higgins is a versatile weapon that can line up outside or in the slot and will remain Mekhi's favorite weapon. So I'm cool with adding another receiver here, a guy that can maybe compete on special teams, maybe compete for the number 4th wide receiver position here. So we'll get Elijah Higgins. And again, 2 more spots left. I'm going to look probably at linebacker, and maybe we look at another quarterback yet. Let's see here. Let's go to linebacker. We got one from Georgia Tech here, Charlie Thomas. Bumper Pool, Arkansas. Jeremy Banks from Tennessee. We'll go ahead and just grab the top-rated linebacker. And again, this is the guy that we're hoping can compete on special teams, a guy that can, be our number 3 linebacker if he has to step up, someone that can just kind of compete if we need it. So we have a lot of 7th-round picks. These guys are just camp bodies for all I care. I just want to get some of the positions filled that we haven't taken already. And then let's go ahead and see who is the last quarterback available here. Nobody that I really know, so I guess we're going to punt on the quarterback position. I guess is Stetson Bennett still available? That would be a steal. Let's just take him. He's older, but I don't mind the veteran-ness of him coming in to be Jordan Love's backup. So there we go. We just did it. Here is our full mock draft as we do our final recap here. At 15, we went with Quentin Johnston from TCU. You should definitely look into him if you haven't watched him yet. Please do. He's a fantastic player to watch. And I think pairing him with Christian Watson, that means it doesn't need to be all on him right away. You got Watson. Dobbs is fine as a number 3. Darnell Washington can come in, really good blocker. I think he's a lot of fun. He could be a guy that, again, that RAS of 9.88, he's 6'7, 265, a fun prospect, and he's pretty raw as far as pass catching. But Will McDonald, edge rusher here, he can potentially slide in and be a co-starter with Gary and Preston Smith. Warren McClendon, offensive tackle here from Georgia, can compete for a right tackle spot, or he can maybe back up Bakhtiari and be a starter next year. Jamie Robinson, safety from Florida State. Moro Ojomo from Texas, defensive tackle. He'll compete there with TJ Slayton and the other guys. Rashawn Johnson from Texas, a potential guy that could, if injury happens, we got a guy that I really like that can be a 3-down kind of banger. And maybe 2024, he's our number 1 or number 2. Who knows? Javon Gwynn, offensive guard from South Carolina. Elijah Higgins from Stanford, wide receiver. A linebacker from Georgia Tech, Charlie Thomas. And Stetson Bennett, quarterback from Georgia. So a lot of fun. What does full results do? Oh, it just gives you the whole draft from the start. But either way, that is my mock draft 3.0, number 3.0. I think this one was my favorite one. Again, it all depends on what we get for Rodgers, if that even does happen anymore, or if the 49ers swoop in and give us a bunch of thirds. I'll probably do another mock draft version with that. But either way, a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for your time. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. That's the best way to pay respects if you like the video. Also like the video if you did like it. And yeah, I mostly do fantasy football content, but I'm a lifelong Packer fan. It's the one team that I've watched every game of for the last 20 years. So I love the Packers, and I love giving you guys fantasy football content. So if you like that, definitely subscribe. Thank you for your time. We'll see you guys in a future video.